talking the other day with a friend of mine about performative politics. We were having a discussion about performative politics and what does it mean, and I think we were looking at it from a different perspective. When I talk about performative politics, I'm talking about the politics of performance. Simply saying a thing because it's the thing we say. I'm in favor of the current thing very, very passionately, and I will tell you, I love the current thing, I support the current thing until the current thing is no longer the current thing, at which point it's either forgotten or I pretend I no longer support it. Case in point, believe all women. Hey, there's a naked man in the locker room. No, there's not. Trans women are women. The current thing, performative politics. City councils having debates on whether they should censure President Trump for his crimes against humanity. A city council. They can't do anything about it. The censure would mean nothing. Or issuing arrest warrants for him, as city councils have attempted to do, knowing that federal law would override all of that. It's performative politics. It's the flag on your profile. Do you remember when Ukraine became the single most important country in history? Our closest ally forever and our most important one. And we knew that because the flags appeared. So did the stay blank at home, stay safe. Performative politics is performance. It's not about policy. It's not about governing. It's not about safe streets in the state. In the case of a city council, it's not about well-funded cops or well-funded schools. It's not about any of that. It is about performance. And so, of course, we have the era of the celebrity, which is, by the way, I think now reached that moment of celebrity that's referred to as the jumping of the shark. If you don't know, that came from a show called Happy Days. And in an effort to keep freshening the show up and freshening it up, one of the characters, Fonzie, who used to be sort of pseudo-thuggish a little bit, tiny bit, had become sort of grandpa thug with his leather jacket still worn, played by Henry Winkler, played well by Henry Winkler. And then came the moment where, to show that he was magical powers, in fact, mystical powers, Fonzie had never water skied, but he decided to water ski in his leather jacket with his white t-shirt, and he jumped over a pool of sharks the first time he'd ever water skied, and Happy Days died. Because people said, absurd. Praise God, I think we've had this moment in this campaign, or a series of these moments, as celebrities can't hear or see themselves. So we're going to compare Cardi B, a celebrity, for singing about, rapping about WAPs. If you know, you know. And if you don't know, don't go find out. Versus Elon Musk, celebrity because of achievement, even when grifting our tax dollars to get that achievement. We'll talk about all of this. We'll talk about it with a focus on what's healthy for the country. And we can talk about what's healthy for you. If you're someone who is facing surgery and your surgeon has told you have no choice, your rotator cuff cannot be repaired. Your MCL, ACL cannot repair itself. It must go through surgery. I'm here to tell you that might not be true. Your surgeon might think it's true, and they probably do. They probably don't think there's any way to get around this. They're probably convinced. They're probably good people, and they're wrong. They might be. You can find out. If you didn't have to be cut open, you should probably investigate whether you don't want to be cut open and go to renew.healthcare. It's RENUE.healthcare. I've been there twice, once for my ankle, once for my shoulder. And I'll tell you this, I just discovered this the other day when I was training at home. My left shoulder is, the shoulder surgery is about 2.5 years ago. And my right shoulder is about a year ago. And my right shoulder is stronger than my left. My left has had all this time to train. My range of motion is better in my right shoulder than it is in my left. My left shoulder is probably about 15% less strong than my right shoulder. What was the difference? Stem cells. I regained my push-ups and pull-ups in 11 weeks with my right arm, 48 weeks with my left. That's a lot of time not moving properly. You do not have to just believe you have to have surgery. So do this. Go to renew.healthcare, RENUE.healthcare. These are ethically gathered stem cells, never anything to do with abortion, and they're the very best at this. RENUE.healthcare. So Cardi B was called into a Kamala rally because Kamala has done maybe one rally where she didn't have entertainers there. And very often, in fact, it happened twice, that MSNBC pretended to think that the entertainers were going to perform. So twice they said, oh, they're going to perform and this. And no, it was never going to be a performance. It was going to be something like this. In Cardi B's defense, and yes, I'll defend her, I want to be fair, she'd intended to go out and read from a teleprompter. And we'll get to later in another video, we'll get to her defense of this, and I'll kind of summarize it in a second here. But she's on stage, and apparently the teleprompter didn't work, so she asked someone to give her her phone. Cardi B worked on this speech. In fact, she said in her defense, she worked her blank off on this speech.
Trump says he's going to protect women whether they like it or not. Well, if his definition of protection is not the freedom of choice.
And it went on and on and on with that same tone, that same staring at the screen from a woman who cannot be bothered to actually speak to people. Performative politics. I don't know a thing about Cardi B other than what she raps about and how she speaks. F word, F word, F word, F word, F word. It makes sense that in Kamala Harris's campaign, Cardi B would be one of the spokespeople, but that was not effective. It couldn't be effective for anybody who's being in any form intellectually honest. Well, the intellectual honesty is those clear. Kamala Harris has promoted more weed, more crypto, and most disturbingly, more young men watching more videos of people having sex. She's promoted this in ads. She'll protect your access to that work. That is destroying women. When Cardi B's talking about protecting women, how about protecting them from a society of young men who've been taught that it's okay to choke your partner? In fact, it's a good thing to choke your partner during a sexual encounter. What about protecting women from that? What about protecting 11-year-old girls from being asked on their phones from boys, send me nudes, which kids are doing? That's protecting girls who go on to become women. Now, it's my understanding that Cardi B was at one time a sex performer. So maybe she thinks that's okay. Look what it's done for her. But she is the living, breathing exception to the rule of what it does. And I'm not here to say I think it's done good things for her. She's rich, full stop, and spiritually captured. That's the closing argument of the Kamala Harris campaign. President Trump has a series of closing arguments and a series of people making them. Elon Musk is famous for a different reason than Cardi B. He's famous because he got rich with inventions, and sometimes he grifted our tax dollars to get them. And he'll claim that he's paid us all back for Tesla. I don't agree. And yet, here he is doing some things for the country that must be done eventually, unless we want to be completely collapsed. Elon Musk has a different approach to interacting with the Trump audience than does Cardi B with Kamala Harris's.
All right, I've only got one question for you, and then I'm getting out of here because this is your stage. But we set up Doge.
Yes.
How much do you think we can rip out of this wasted $6.5 trillion Harris-Biden budget?
Well, I think we can do at least $2 trillion.
Yeah!
Yes.
$2 trillion.
I mean, at the end of the day, you're being taxed. You're being taxed. All government spending is taxation. So whether it's direct taxation or all government spending, it either becomes inflation or it's direct taxation. Your money is being wasted, and the Department of Government Efficiency is going to fix that.
He's not good at getting people riled up, but he knows what he's talking about.
We're going to get the government off your back and out of your pocketbook. And America's just not just going to be great. America is going to reach heights that it has never seen before. The future is going to be amazing.
Really bad, like getting people riled up, but he knows what he's talking about with government waste. He knows what he's talking about with the spending. He knows what he's talking about with the tax structure. He knows what a passive tax is versus or indirect tax versus a direct tax. The closing argument. Cardi B with a phone. Elon Musk with provable, demonstrable, accountable experience. Vote wisely.